Hey guys, UG here, and throughout the entire time I've been playing this game, I've been trying to find the perfect ult to sort of have as a secondary main to Ret. Initially, way back in MoP, I was a Hunter main, and Ret was the ult, and then eventually decided I liked Ret more and hard committed to playing that. Since then, I've dabbled in a number of different specs. I played a ton of DH and Rogue, some Warrior, Windwalker, Dev, and DK, but none of them really stuck as an alternative to Ret, just something to play on the side every once in a while. But lately, Ret's been pretty hit or miss, especially at the end of the season when trying to push for R1, it seems kinda niche. So I decided this season I'm going to try to find an ult that I can consistently play, and I'm going to go over my process of how I test different specs and what I think of them. For what specs I'm going to try, I'll be trying out the specs from my previous video talking about the best Ret ults, and I think I'll be starting with Pharaoh, mainly because I really just like playing with Hunters, and it's the perfect spec for that. So now I'll be going over my process that I like to follow when learning a spec. First, I'll just be doing 2s and BGs and whatever it takes to gear my spec and maybe learn the basics. Then I'll hit the training dummy a bit, just to figure out my basic rotation. From there, I try to start playing at least 10 games of 2s a game, specifically playing with a healer. It slows down the game a ton, allowing for you to actually learn how to play your spec without instantly losing the game for one tiny mistake. I continue to do this until I manage to get to 1800. Once I do that, I continue my 10 2s games, but also add in about 3 shuffles a day if possible. Sometimes I skip the shuffles just because of queue times, but I always try to get at least 10 games in a day just to be consistent on practice. While doing this, if I feel like I'm struggling with something, I look up VODs or videos of top players of whatever spec I'm playing and try to learn from them. So since I'm playing Pharaoh, I'd go and watch VODs from Zev, but now that I'm playing Shuffle, I try to get around 2100, then do 2 things. First, I try to get 2k in 2s. And second, I start playing 3s. Now the reason I structure it like this is for a couple of different reasons. First, learning how your spec plays in a number of different game modes can be super beneficial for learning more aspects of it. Playing it in 2s can help you learn how to secure kills and just learn the basics of your spec. Then Shuffle lets you learn how to hard carry games on your own, since a lot of the time you can't really rely on your teammates to do anything for you, especially at lower ratings. Lastly, I try to save 3s for last, because if you play with the same teammates you normally play with on your main, you can do super well when in reality not actually doing super well yourself, just because you're getting carried by good teammates or just having really good synergy with your teammates. Sometimes it makes it harder for you to notice and understand your mistakes. However, playing 3s is still super important. If you have a team, unlike Shuffle, you aren't sitting there with a massive downtime waiting to play the game. You get a lot better, more focused practice. Also, your teammates can help give you tips on things you could be doing to improve. Then the last thing I like to do is once I get 2400 in Shuffle, I like to level an ult and start leapfrogging the 2. That's mainly just because of my own mental inability to tank. I've had too many experiences of getting burned for not leapfrogging, so I just have to leapfrog now. And a lot of the times I would just sit there and sit my rating forever and not practice the game if I'm at a certain point. So to just get over that, I just have an ult and just leapfrog that whenever one is higher and not really have to worry about anything. And after that, it's just remembering to consistently play the game. Try to keep up with your 10 2s games a day as long and as often as possible. It's just good practice to have in general for staying good at the game. It's even good to do just on your main, just to have a couple of games every day, just to make sure that you're staying consistent, because there's always more things to learn and improve at, and just playing the game is just the only way that you can actually really do that. Oh, and lastly, when deciding if I'm actually not really feeling an ult, I always try to give it at least 200 to 300 games before giving up on it, just to make sure it's the spec and its playstyle I don't like, and it's not just me feeling bad about being bad at it. 200 to 300 games gives me a good enough time to kind of learn the basics of the spec and actually have a good educated opinion on how it feels. So after that, I decide, do I want to keep playing this or do I want to try something different? And that's about it. So look forward to some ult gameplay in the future as I search for and learn a new ult. But this is for me. Peace.